Okay, well, good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar, How to Ensure Your Law Firm Doesn't Buy the Wrong CRM System. My name's Simon McNidder. I'm from Promptr Limited. I've spent nearly 30 years in CRM for professional service firms, most of it in law. I started off at PricewaterhouseCoopers, the big accounting firm. I was at PW when Coopers, they merged. And I went into the head of marketing's office in the Midlands and said, look, all our databases, our data, our emails, our mail shots, it's all duplicated. And he pointed at me from the bottom of his desk and said, you've got that job. And I remember thinking, what do I want that for? What did I say that for? He obviously knew me far better than I knew myself. And I loved it. Great, big, meaty projects to get involved in. I left PwC, went to Pinsent Masons, as they're now known, went through 5 mergers, brought in a CRM system. Every time we merged, brought it in again. About 10 years ago, I jumped ship, became a CRM independent consultant, contractor, whatever you like to call it, to law firms. And then a couple of years ago, from there, I set up Promptr, which is a fully managed CRM system. Okay. So what we're going to go over today is 3 sections to make sure that you buy the right sort of CRM system for your firm. I'm going to split it into the technology, the data quality, and the users and adoption. Okay, so let's get going. So the tech. First of all, what do you want to achieve? Because CRM systems don't always answer the right question. So, for example, if you've got Excel lists all over the place, and really all you want to do is send a newsletter out to clients, contacts, prospects, work introducers, that sort of thing, or maybe send out event invites. Actually, what you're probably looking for is an email tool. The most popular, well-known one, MailChimp. Loads of people can support it and they can help you through it. That is probably the best solution for you if all you want to do is send emails and newsletters. Okay. If you're looking for bids, you want to go, right, I'm bringing CVs in and experience and all that sort of stuff and bring it in here, and I want to pre-format these sorts of things. CRM tool, again, probably isn't the right system for that. EasyPQQ may well be, or some other bid producing document might be the better bet for you. If you want to understand your relationships around your firm with your clients, your contacts, your work introducers, you want to see who knows who, you want to see how well people are known and use it as a sort of a central store of your business development activity from around your firm. That's when CRM systems come into their own. Okay, they pull together everybody's activity and knowledge and their contacts, and then you've got one person with 4 or 5 or 6 different lawyers knowing them, rather than everybody's got their own lists. That's when CRM systems can really help you. Now, the problem I've seen over 30 years is databases are complex. They're in a race to do, one does this much and the other one goes, right, well, I'm going to do a bit more. And then that one goes, well, I'm going to do a bit more. And then another one comes in, I'm going to do a bit more. You can just see how that's going. They try and do absolutely everything. And you have to really work out, do your lawyers want to do everything? Or is this a tool for marketing? So, for example, you may well be the head of marketing BD. You might be a very senior partner on this call. You may be sort of the BD rainmaker in your firm, and you go, yes, we need a database. But the majority of your lawyers may not. They might want something as simple and as easy as possible. They probably only want to do a few things. They want to see who their contacts are. They want to see whose activity with their contacts is going on, and a few other things like that. Yep. So just bear in mind, are you buying a system for marketing and sales and BD, or are you buying a system for lawyers? So the lawyers have to use a marketing system. They're not going to. Or the marketing and BD teams have to use a system designed for lawyers. And that's probably going to happen. So just bear that in mind. What you've got in a majority of the cases are mass market CRM tools. The best known are Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. And you've got legal ones as well, but it's like Interaction, Intrahive, that sort of thing. They are big databases that they originally started out helping someone to sell widgets in a sales team. Okay, so for example, if you're in recruitment, anything that goes into the database happened. If it's not in the database, it didn't happen. And you live and breathe by it. You update the details, you take people through a pipeline, the lot. Lawyers don't work like that. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Lawyers live in Outlook. We all know they do. They respond yes in Outlook rather than pick up the phone and anything else like that. You need to find a system that links with Outlook. Okay, if it hasn't got the link with Outlook, discount it straight away, because your lawyers live in Outlook and it makes life easy. Now, a lot of the Outlook connectors, you can see the database via Outlook. Okay, Promptr's got an information toolbar, so does some of the others. If a lawyer emails a contact or the contact emails in, that contact gets added into the system. Okay, and that's what you're looking for, because that reduces the effort of anybody having to add contacts into the system for them to be there. Okay? These tools, these CRM systems, are only as good as what's in them. And all they are they're a depository for data. Data comes in from all sorts of different sources and then goes out to your lawyers, summarized and a bit more relevant and things like that. And if it's not going in, nobody's getting information out for it. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Are you looking at a system that looks like it's been designed for marketing and wanted a big database because they want to try and do everything? Or are you looking for a system that's designed for lawyers and the marketing team just bolt onto it and use it? As far as I know, when I've been in professional services, whether it's the accountants or it's the lawyers, we live and breathe by events. Yeah, hundreds of events, whether it's seminars and webinars or golf days and go to the races, that sort of stuff. How many systems do you look at that go, well, where's the event management tool in this? So the simplest is, can you book people onto the event and tell the system that they've accepted? And is there an easy function to go, dink, done? As well, you might have an event calendar functionality. So, for example, you've got your events that you're running. Maybe you do one a month, maybe you do one a week, who knows? But what about the chambers events or the accountants networking or the property professionals that you're linking up with? Where's that held? If you're going to say, well, actually, the system doesn't even hold that, it doesn't punt it out to users of the system, I've got to have it in Excel and I've got to email it around. Just look for a system that does that. Not many do that. One of the reasons why I was very frustrated with systems and designed Promptr, which is a simpler tool and fully managed, is that it does things what lawyers do, rather than what a salesperson does and trying to sell it into the legal market. You've then got the issue of, actually, as the head of BD, and we think that CRM is really going to help our firm understand what's going on, really impress the contacts. So I'll give you an idea. Some of the systems send an alert to the lawyers once a week, a summary of activity that's happening to them. Real life feedback. A senior lawyer, one of my clients, was visiting a client. Okay, the chairman of their client, actually, as it happened, and they spotted that someone else had put a note in the database to say that they'd met that same person. They'd been on a charity bike ride with them. What a fantastic conversation starter that partner had when they met that chairman to say, oh, how did your charity bike ride go with XYZ, my colleague? They said hi, by the way. What a brilliant conversation starter. Now, that's where you're going to be if you get a CRM system, as long as everyone uses it. But who's going to install it? So you might be saying, as your BD or head of BD, right, CRM's really going to help us. And then your IT team go, well, we've got projects coming out of our ears. How can we have another one? And you have to wait. So you just bear that in mind. A lot of the systems sell you a piece of software and you have to look after it and manage it yourself. Okay. There's only one that I know of that is fully managed for you and it just completely looks after it. But this is not a sales webinar. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to help you identify what's the right option for you. And then who's going to support it? So, for example, user queries, training, onboarding new users, new staff, things like that. Who's going to do that? It's likely that your IT team are snowed under already with various projects, a new version of Microsoft Outlook coming out, and all that sort of stuff, or Microsoft Office, those sorts of things. So just bear that in mind when you can either buy a piece of kit and look after it yourself, or you can buy a fully managed piece of kit that everything else is catered for. Really, so that allows you to spend time doing what you do best, whether it's running events, dealing with the partners, or the partners dealing with clients or anything like that. Spend time doing what you do best, not on database jewels. Okay, the data. So imagine great big flash glass buildings they are now, aren't they? Skyscraper type things, wonderful things. They win awards and all that sort of stuff. Nobody, when it's up in the air, nobody thinks about the foundations. Unless you're building the Leaning Tower of Pisa. and then the foundations were rubbish. Okay, that's what your data is for your database. These things are only as good as the information that's in them. So you've got to think, well, who's going to update it or who's going to add details? So your lawyers, you might be thinking, the lawyers will use it. After 6 months of this thing being brand new and shiny and everyone's keen, they're probably not going to be going, oh, I've got to use it. They're probably going to be thinking, I've got to use that. Lawyers, and I've only been doing this for about 28 years, lawyers will not update the details. Okay, they won't want to add new contacts and they won't want to update the details when they do. So you might be thinking, well, secretaries, that's fantastic. We'll allocate that 10% of a secretary's job is updating the database. When their PDRs or their end of year appraisal comes down and you go, well, how did the database updating go? He or she is going to say, well, you asked me to do client work and that's far more important. So I did that instead. The database updating is always the very, very last thing. So you think, well, okay, let's centralize it. Let's have marketing do it. So if you've got an average not an average one, just a normal marketing assistant or a manager or anybody like that, or however you want to view it, and you go, right, well, your job now is to update the database. You can probably bet your bottom dollar that they were not going into their marketing career thinking, I'm going to update data. Yeah. So you've probably got to centralize it. And that's our recommendation as well. Whether you buy a solution and then outsource the data updating, or you do something like a fully managed solution like Promptr, where it's all catered for you already, that's absolutely your choice. You just choose whatever is the right situation for you. But just bear in mind that get the data done by the sort of the least expensive person that you've got on your supplier or your payroll. Yep. Lawyers are just not going to do it, no matter how much they say, oh, yes, I will. You have to bear in mind as well that data will never, ever finish. It will always be there. 10% of people move jobs every year. So that's 10% of your database needs updating, even before anything else happens, like promotions or anything else. Okay. Now, you will hear of signature scraping tools, Outlook, and things like that. They're brilliant. They are the game changer. They track emails that go in between you and your clients and prospects and add the contact if necessary, or update the details depending on what option you go for. What they don't do is if Joe Bloggs or Jane Smith moves from one business to another, they don't move them. Okay, what will happen is all the activity will stop with the old person and all the new activity will start with the new one. So you've still got to have someone to go, actually, that person there is that one. So we're going to merge them in. So whatever you do, that's a key thing that you have to remember. And that's 10% of your database before you even do anything else, move jobs each year. So you just have to go, how important is data? And our recommendation is it's very important. Users will use the data or poor quality data as excuses not to use your system. So some real life feedback from users while I've been doing this. Wherever I am, I try and do a user survey to say, where are we now? What are your frustrations and things like that? So this is some of the stuff that's come out, and I'm going to read them out. So updating the database isn't a 400 per hour job. That was from a partner. Too right, it's not. Don't get the partners and the senior lawyers to be updating details. Something or someone should be doing most of that for them. Okay. There are duplicates everywhere. That is, if you've got a system, maybe from your old firm, or maybe you've got one already and you're going, we're reviewing this. You're gonna know that, aren't you? If you haven't got one, they appear very, very easily. Yes, people move from one job to another, but also people put in another person in again. And you won't believe the amount of checks that a system can come up with to say, you're adding John Smith at Barclays Bank. Is this the same as John Smith at Barclays Bank already in the system? And everybody's going, I'm just going to, yeah. So you've got to just bear that in mind. Our process is let it go in and we'll sort it all out behind the scenes. Once you start telling your users, your lawyers to go, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, they start hearing don't rather than best practice. Okay. And I'm going to read out my favorite ever quote. I found the record, saw it was wrong, thought I should update it, but didn't. That is a real life user. And now you'll be thinking, no one in our firm will be like that. They're not. They're unlikely. But what you'll find is nobody really wants to update the database, even when they go, that means wrong. Oh, I just can't bother to do that. That's generally what they view it as. Okay. Which is why with Promptr, we manage all the data as much as we can behind the scenes because we don't tire of it. We've got some people that like doing that. Okay. So your users, the adoption of the system. So let's say that you've got the right kit, so there's no excuses not to use it because it's not too complex and not too frightening and overwhelming and things like that. Because if you've got a database with 100 buttons, that's probably 100 too many for 95% of your business. Yeah. If you've got one with 3 buttons, everybody can use that. And there'll be a few people that go, can I have a bit more? Okay. So what is your view of adoption of these systems? So you'll get some suppliers that go, yep, well, you've got people logging into it. Brilliant, all done. Or you've got people, they're adding contacts. That's just brilliant. All of that stuff's just automatic, or it should be with modern day systems. So contacts get added automatically because you're linking with Outlook, because don't buy a system that hasn't got that. I would suggest that you want users or your lawyers to do 2 things with your system. One is do something with the information it feeds them. So, for example, the bare basics of any tool, it should have a weekly alert to your lawyers fed right into their inbox so they don't have to lift a finger and do anything else that says, this is the stuff that's been into the system last week to the contacts that you know. And who you know is automatic anyway. There should be no need for someone to go, press a button, I know this person. Discount a system straight away if someone has to do that. And the other point of usage is, are they logging if they've had a coffee or they've gone networking with somebody? Okay, those are the 2 things that you can't automate. Now, you can automate if they click on a link. You can automate if they email a contact and the contact emails them back. That's fine. That's standard. You can also automate if there's a meeting in your Outlook calendar with contacts. Okay, as long as that person is invited, there's a trigger. The systems can track that. What they can't do is if your lawyer meets someone at a networking event, chambers, one of the accountants or property professionals, or a webinar or a seminar that's your own, it can't say, I had a chat with them. That's all you want them to do. Okay. And that's what I would recommend, is you monitoring that sort of usage. So then you've got actually, well, how do we get the users to do that? So there are a variety of ways of carrots and sticks on this sort of thing. Okay. Now, most databases that I've seen don't make this easy, okay, which enables you to track what's going on. If you're the marketing department and you go, right, well, I now have to set up a search or do something, set up some reports, bolt something onto the side of the system that says who's logging stuff, what's going on, all that sort of stuff. A good tool will have, well, I've had a lot of experience, a lot of positive experience with BD leaderboards, league tables, whatever you like to call it. You've added a BD note, you've gone for a coffee or networking with a contact, you've got a point. Yeah. Gamification, just make it fun to add it in. It becomes a bit of a talking point. There are some people that hate that sort of stuff, but they're only the ones that aren't logging the stuff and can't be bothered anyway. And really, they wouldn't have done it, whether you've gamified adding details on it in or not. And 2 ways, a bit more of a stick, they just change it completely. So many years ago, probably about 25 years ago, at Pinson's, we'd implemented a CRM database, and we were running around at a sort of a low level of BD notes going into the system. I've had a coffee with, I've met someone, that sort of stuff, had a call, a meeting. And then one day it just shot up and then carried on at that sort of level. And we were thinking, I was patting myself on the back thinking, oh, I've done a really good job. Fantastic. People have started listening. One of the team heads had noticed the power of the system and what it can do when notes go into the system, and gone to their team. If you don't add in your BD notes, whether you've met them, you're not getting your expenses when you visited that thing. So the sandwiches or the tube or the taxi ride or the mileage, anything like that, they're not getting the expenses. And that just changed everything. That's the best one we can do. So with Promptr, we have some pre-canned reports to go, right, BD leader tables, expense report output so that you can attach it to your expenses, or appraisals, end of year appraisals. I've logged BD in the system at your end of year appraisals. For PAs and secretaries, I've logged it for these lawyers. For the lawyers, this is what I've added or someone's added for me about me going to that. Include it in your PDRs, your end of year appraisals. Okay. So how much handholding are you going to do with your lawyers? Are you just going to give them the system and go, that's it, fine, they've been shown how to do it. When they joined, they got shown and all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't work like that. With the best will in the world, you go, right, I've told them it's all fine. The lawyers are really busy, and using a database isn't anywhere near the top of their priorities. They'll like the results from it, but it's the getting it in that's hard. Okay, so you're going to have to do quite a lot of continual effort to get usage up and to get them using the system and things like that. So, for example, who's going to do your training? Who's going to offer tips? So training. So if you give this training to your IT team, they are going to show a user how to add a contact. Yeah, they're not going to know why they do it or anything like that, because you can't expect them to know that sort of stuff. So I was dealing with one supplier of a big client, and they said, right, what we're doing for training, we're planning on getting everybody into a room, and we're doing 10 at a time. We'll have one of your meeting rooms with computers in it, and we'll get people in for 2 hours, and we'll show them through the system. That might be all right for marketing, but the senior lawyers, they've got to do it by webinar, 15 minutes. So anyone that tells you they've got to sit down for 2 hours, can you imagine how much fee-earning time you're spending by doing some training that 95% of that the lawyers are never ever going to use anyway. You only need to show senior lawyers 2 things: how to get information out of the system and then what to do with it. So, for example, on your weekly alert, and you see that one of your colleagues is meeting one of your contacts, pick up the phone, drop an email to your colleague and say, we seem to be dealing with the same person. How can we help each other? Or if you see someone doing something externally with one of your contacts, get in touch with the contact and say, oh, I see you've booked onto our seminar. I'll join it. I'll take you for a coffee before or after, that sort of thing. Those sorts of tips, you have to manage them. So if you buy a standard traditional CRM system, you've got to sort them all out. Obviously, with Promptr, that's covered already, as is the training. So you want lightweight training for the lawyers, medium training for the secretaries and PAs, and then a bit more heavy duty for the marketing teams who are going to use it as a database rather than just as a peripheral bit of their job. And what you have to really ask yourself is, have you got an in-house CRM database expert to make the best use of this tool that you've bought? Because some of them are very, very expensive. Okay. So some of the excuses, and this is real life as well, these are verbatim comments near enough. I've shortened them, really sorry, they're not verbatim, just to get them on the slide. So some excuses that you need to make sure that your database that you buy works around. I don't use it because my contacts are not in it. That's solved by having an Outlook link. So if someone's emailed or they email in, they're in the system. I'm not using it because the data's out of date. Duplicates everywhere, those sorts of comments. You've got to have someone to monitor that. Nobody does it if it's 10% of their job. It's always forgotten. It's the last thing anyone ever does, and everyone is always too busy. I don't have the time to use it. No, well, you shouldn't be asking the lawyers to be using it. They only need to do one thing, which is log the BD. And if that takes them more than 5 or 10 minutes a week, you can set an end of week reminder. That's all they need to do. They just need to look at the detail. Everyone else should be using it, adding it, logging for them. Another excuse is, I don't know how to use it. That's because the database is too complicated to use. It's got too many buttons. Promptr's got 3 buttons. Every single lawyer can use that. Other systems, Salesforce, Dynamics, any of the other big legal tools that you'll see advertised, hundreds of buttons. It's terrifying if you're a normal lawyer and I want to do good legal work and advice for my clients. You've got a big database. It's hard enough to get them to use the time recording and the accounting system, never mind a marketing tool. And then the cracker, the last one is, I don't use it because nobody else is using it. So that's a horrible downward spiral. So you need to get a few people using it. Use some testimonials, some key stories and things like that. Okay. And what you really want to be thinking is, when you're buying a CRM database, is, do you ever hear lawyers say things like, I want to use a database today? Nope, neither do we. So find a system that works around that. If you're providing them with a database and say, yeah, go use that, you're probably not going to get very much take up in the long term. And that's what you're after, because these systems are never ending. It isn't just a 6-month project to be done with it. They take a lot of long-term effort. So summarizing, there's tech, there's data, and there's the actual users and the adoption of the system that are all key to think about. So CRM software can be much like owning a racing car. It's quite complex. It's useless without the skills to use it, and it takes a lot of effort to maintain it. Okay, Promptr is much like having a chauffeur. It's a fully managed CRM service. We do 95% for you. We handhold the rest. You decide what's best for you. Can you manage it yourself, or can you just want, just Does someone else do it for me? That's what you're after. And just bear that in mind when you're having a look at systems. Okay. There's a quick slideshot of Promptr. There's a Outlook toolbar with a couple of buttons and it links to the person that you're in. And then there's a pre-canned report that users don't actually have to go and do filters and stuff like that. They just go to the various sections. All right. And there's a bit about me. I am going to leave you with this slide. How often do you hear lawyers say, I want to use a database today? When you're looking at your CRM system and they're providing you with a great big database, just step into the lawyer's shoes and think, actually, am I really going to use that? We don't think you are, but I hope that has helped. Now, please get in touch at the end. Please get in touch with me. My email is simon@promptr.co.uk. It'll be on the last slide, just there at the end. If you'd like to ask questions or anything else like that, I would be delighted to answer anything you have. I hope you found that a useful 25 minutes of your time. I'll be providing the slides and a recording of this video to anyone that's booked on and you guys that have attended. Thank you very much. I hope that was useful.